They say abandoned places are just empty shells, forgotten, lifeless, and still. But that's not always true. Others, well, they hold things so disturbing, so unexplainable, they leave even the bravest explorers questioning what lurks in the shadows. From mysterious messages scrawled on walls to rooms that look like their occupants vanished into thin air, tonight, we're taking you on a journey into the world's most unsettling abandoned places, where people have stumbled upon things that defy logic, and sometimes, even reality. Are you ready? Because once you see these, you might never look at an abandoned place the same way again. The Haunted Doll Collection. Imagine stepping into an old, forgotten house, its wooden floors groaning under your weight. Dust hangs thick in the air. But then, you see them, rows and rows of glassy eyes staring back at you. Dolls. Hundreds of them. Some missing limbs, others with their faces melted or scratched beyond recognition. In Mexico, explorers discovered an entire abandoned house filled with dolls, some wired to the ceiling, others arranged in odd positions, like they were frozen in the middle of some eerie ritual. The weirdest part? Some of the dolls were found after the house had supposedly been abandoned. Who, or what, keeps placing them there? But this isn't the only case. Across the world, eerie doll collections have been found in abandoned places, often positioned as if they were watching. Some people claim they hear whispers when they enter these spaces. Others have seen the dolls move. Coincidence? Or something more sinister? The unexplained human remains. You expect dust, broken furniture, maybe even some old newspapers in an abandoned place. But what if you found something that was once alive? In 2014, urban explorers in an abandoned hospital in Germany made a gruesome discovery: a perfectly preserved human brain, sitting inside a jar, placed neatly on a shelf like a forgotten science experiment. There were no records of its origin. No signs of any medical staff left behind. Just the brain, waiting in silence. And this isn't an isolated case. In the abandoned Willard Asylum in New York, hundreds of suitcases were found, left behind by patients who never left. Some still contained letters, personal belongings, and unsettlingly, a few held items that suggested some patients were subject to horrifying experiments. What secrets do these places still hold? And why were these things left behind? The secret chambers and sealed rooms. There are places where doors were never meant to be opened. In an abandoned mansion in France, a group of explorers found an entire wing of the house that had been sealed shut from the inside. When they managed to pry open the doors, they discovered a dining table still set for a meal, as if the family had just stood up and left, only, they never returned. The food, of course, had rotted away decades ago, but the furniture was untouched, and on the walls, there were cryptic messages, warnings in Old French about something that had come back. Even stranger, in some abandoned buildings, people have found entire rooms covered in symbols, with no clear indication of why they exist or who made them. In one case, a completely empty warehouse had just one room in the center, its walls covered in black handprints. Some say it was a ritual. Others think it's something far worse. The mysterious shadow figures. Explorers often bring cameras to abandoned places, hoping to document their adventures. But sometimes, they capture something they can't explain. One of the most chilling cases happened in an abandoned school in Japan. A group of urban explorers filmed as they walked through the dark hallways. They laughed, joked, until one of them noticed something in the footage later. In a doorway behind them, a tall shadow figure, motionless. No face. No features. Just standing there. The group swore no one else was in the building. And then, there's the infamous case from an old asylum in the US. An explorer took a single photograph down a long hallway. At the end of it, a pale figure, barely visible, peeking around the corner. The problem? That hallway was a dead end. No one should have been there. What are these figures? Are they spirits, memories trapped in time, or something even worse? The disturbing handwritten notes in many abandoned places, people have found messages left behind. Some are innocent, grocery lists, letters. But others? They tell stories that should have never been discovered. In an abandoned cabin deep in the woods, a note was found nailed to the door. It read, "Don't go in the basement. It's not dead, inside." A rusted hatch leading to a locked room, its contents still unknown. At an old factory, someone found dozens of torn pages from a diary, all repeating the same phrase, "They are watching." No one knows who wrote it, or who they were. Perhaps the most terrifying, though, was a note found in an abandoned house in the UK scrawled in red ink on the walls. "I should not have let him in. Now it's too late. Who was he? And where did he go?" Abandoned places are more than just forgotten buildings. They are time capsules of fear, mystery, and sometimes, the unexplainable. The things left behind tell stories, some tragic, some terrifying, and some that make us wonder if we should have ever found them at all. Maybe the next time you pass by an abandoned place, you'll think twice before stepping inside. Because sometimes, it's not the ghosts that are the scariest thing lurking in the dark. It's the things left behind, waiting.
There are places on this planet that were once full of life, bustling cities, thriving amusement parks, grand mansions, and even entire islands. But time has a way of changing things. War, disaster, and the slow decay of nature have transformed these places into hauntingly beautiful ruins. Yet, there's something about abandoned places that draws us in. Maybe it's the mystery of what happened. Maybe it's the eerie silence that lingers in the air. Or maybe, it's the way nature reclaims what was once man-made, turning concrete and steel into breathtaking works of art. From forgotten castles to entire sunken cities. Today we're taking you on a journey to some of the most amazing abandoned places in the world. Places that hold stories of the past, frozen in time, waiting to be discovered. Are you ready? Because once you see these places, you'll never forget them. Pripyat, Ukraine. The ghost city of Chernobyl in 1986. Life in the city of Pripyat came to a sudden and tragic halt. The Chernobyl nuclear disaster forced the evacuation of over 49,000 residents in just a matter of hours. Families left everything behind, homes, schools, and even their personal belongings. Today, Pripyat stands as a frozen moment in time. Apartment buildings remain filled with old furniture. Schools still have textbooks scattered across desks. A rusting Ferris wheel stands eerily still, never to be ridden again. But what's even more fascinating is how nature has begun to take over. Wolves, bears, and even lynxes roam the empty streets, making it one of the most unexpected wildlife sanctuaries in the world. Hashima Island, Japan. The ghostly Battleship Island, a tiny island off the coast of Japan, Hashima, or Battleship Island, was once home to thousands of coal miners. In the 1950s, it was a thriving community with schools, cinemas, and even a swimming pool. But when coal mining declined, the island was abandoned almost overnight. Today, Hashima is a ghost town. Its crumbling concrete buildings, hollowed-out windows, and rusting staircases give it an almost post-apocalyptic look. Walking through the island is like stepping into a world that no longer belongs to humans. A place lost in time, where the echoes of the past still seem to linger. The underwater city of Shicheng, China. Hidden beneath the depths of Qiandao Lake lies one of the most astonishing lost cities in the world. Shicheng, also known as the Lion City. Once a thriving metropolis with stunning architecture, it was submerged intentionally in 1959 to make way for a dam project. What's incredible is how well preserved this city remains. Ancient temples, stone carvings, and streets remain untouched by time, thanks to the lack of wind and sunlight underwater. Today, divers explore this hidden Atlantis, swimming through its submerged archways and towering structures, discovering the silent beauty that remains beneath the surface. The city of Petra, Jordan. Ancient ruins in the desert. Deep in the deserts of Jordan lies Petra, a city carved into the rose-colored